Bro.
Mute on. I got two windows open.
No, you're good, dude. They could probably hear us talking as this is rolling. Surprise, surprise. Bucktails and surprises tonight, folks. Here we come. What's going on, everybody? I am Mike Murphy Kuda, and welcome to Jig Squad. Joining me tonight is Mr. Larry Hadley, the angler. I'm going to pop up as we get into the show tonight. His handle's listed down below, but on Instagram, you can find Larry at TheAnglure. I'm really excited to have Larry on. Guys, Eric is still the minister of culture around Jig Squad. A couple of people were asking me. It's just tournament season, right? So that was our deal when we got started. So actually, we looked at the schedule. Larry, Eric's going to be on for some of the shows over the next 2 months and stuff. So he's still around. He's still the minister of culture and this co-host, but sometimes he can't make it. So, but tonight, guys, I've been waiting a long time to get Larry on. So we didn't even wait. Larry's on right away because I'm rolling solo tonight. So I've been excited about this for a long time. And, everyone loves the way this guy paints. But I love his bucktails because I think he's one of the cleanest tires in thread wraps. And his thread wraps are just insane in the entire game. So a lot of great people out there. But welcome to Jig Squad, Larry. You want to tell everyone about yourself a little bit and what got you into jig making, my man?
Yeah, sure. So, what got me into jig making was, I'm a flounder fisherman, so I do a lot of jigging and
Okay.
around a lot of pilings. So, I get hung up a lot
On the jetties, out on the piers, that type of stuff.
On a pier, I'm a pier rat, so I love fishing piers. So,
sure.
There's this one day, right, and I went out there and I bought these Sea Striker, actually these things right here.
Here, let me make you big for a second, Larry, just so you can see this.
This is my last pack, and this is the last pack I bought. But I use these, and these are like $5 a pop, and I lost 6 of them within like 2 hours, and I was like, man, this is getting expensive. So I went and talked to one of my buddies, which is also a fellow jig maker. This guy named John Savor. He was, phenomenal jig maker. And I was asking him what he called it. He called it a butterbean head. He was like, you need to go on Do It.
Butterbean head.
Yeah, that's what he calls it. It's like the old school way. I think Do It calls it a flathead.
Yep. And that's only on the side. It's almost like a teardrop shape, but it's like smushed, almost like flat on the side, like a pancake kind of, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I went ahead and I ended up ordering that, and then I couldn't really find like an arrowhead that had like an eye or something, but they had this like a minnow grub, I think, or a grub.
Sure.
I think it's called something like that, and I ended up ordering that, and that's where it really took off. I mean, like my paints when I first started were so I went to Harbor Freight.
Yeah.
Bought, that powder coat that they
sure.
sell. Big jugs. I went and bought that, and I was using that at first. You know what I mean?
And a lot of guys still use that paint from Harbor Freight, but the deal is it's temperamental, right? And so and messing around with it in heat, it's very difficult, and sometimes you run up with you get a tough go with it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's just not fine, and it's like you could drop it and it'll break, and you'll still have powder underneath, even if you bake it hot. It's thick. I don't like using that stuff. I mean, but
that's what you started with.
Yep, I started with that. The white, red, and black.
Basic color, especially for saltwater, right?
Yeah, the white and red is like one of the best colors, I think.
Sure.
Out there fishing flounder, chartreuse too, but they didn't. Harbor Freight didn't have chartreuse and stuff like that.
Right.
Then I got into that Protect stuff, man. Oh man, like that's where it took off,
Yeah, I mean, and how many years would you say, Larry? Like, how many years back did you start making the jigs?
My first jig was 2014.
2014. Okay.
2014. That's when I first made my first one. I actually have my my first 2 bucktails. Hold on.
Do you really? Yeah, I want to see this. This is great. By the way, you have like the most convenient little room going on there. It's nice, clean capped. I'm sitting in the corner of a bedroom upstairs as I build the jig tying dungeon down in the basement, which is on its way. It's getting close.
Yeah, this is my room. Like,
it's awesome. I love your room. All right, let's see these, buddy. I'm gonna make you big again. Let's go.
These are my first, like this one right here.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that jig.
Yeah, the tie line's not tight, and
right.
And like I was new to it, so I could pull hair out of this. Like I wasn't tying it tight, and that's the other one. The hair.
That's been my experience learning the hard way with bucktail. People make fun of me because I've shown my stuff over the years, but you know that's why you gotta show the good, the bad, and the in between. That's just how this game goes, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking to a buddy of mine. He was like, "Man, you came a long way from Harbor Freight," you know. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, a lot of guys started with that because you know, I think the thing is, Larry. I mean, that's what everyone had available, right? Because if it wasn't, well, I mean, this is kind of how I think it goes down. It's like you can order it, but then once you hear there's a Harbor Freight down the road and you can get it for this cheap price or whatever it is, you're going to try it out, right? And the thing is, it just messes with you with temps, you know. And I think once you realize there's nicer things out there, and I mean, you know, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there's so many different colors, and I mean, sometimes I make jigs just to experiment with different colors, and they're not even something I primarily use all the time. You know what I mean? Like the one ProTech color that I don't use, but I still think is probably one of the nicest colors that they make is that root beer one. It's a beautiful color. And I've seen so many people make cool jigs with it. And I look at it every time and go, man, why don't I use that more? I go, because I got too many other things I have to make. But it is nice to have that variety for what you want to make. All right, but, so that's what you did.
Yeah, like, I mean, going with when you're starting off, that Harbor Freight's like a good thing. You get like a whole pound for like $5 if you're starting off.
Right.
Like, that's something good to experiment with. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's pretty much the route I took. I was like, man, like, I don't want to invest in, a bunch of ProTech if I suck at it, you know?
And were you pouring? Did you start off pouring, or were you buying your jigs and then painting them there?
No, I poured. I bought all of it. I bought the smelter, and I bought all that stuff like all in one go, and like I figured like I can buy them in bulk on eBay and stuff like that because I was when I first started, it was just for me. I didn't have the intention of selling them at first. It was just for me because I was losing so many at the pier. So I was like, I'm just gonna make a bunch. Like I was like, I'm just gonna buy my own stuff and make like 1,000 of these, and I'll be good for the whole summer. Like fishing.
And it was bucktail. It was that style that you started with. So like for me, Larry, when I started pouring, it was real simple. It was a ball head and a tube jig, and those were the two things that the guys that taught me how to pour and everything else. That's what we poured. And basically, to be honest with you, that it wasn't even because, and that wasn't even for fishing like rivers and stuff. That was for fishing on the Great Lakes, and just we fish a lot of chunk rock and rebar on the Great Lakes, at least on the south end for sure. And it just became an economical way. We'd get together and pour, and then I started meeting other people, and I fell into learning how to make skirted jigs. I mean. And I'll never forget. Listen, I'm gonna have to find them because I still have them. The first jigs that I ever tied actually was zonker strips, and I was trying to make hair jigs, and there was no one in the world showing me how to make hair jigs. And this is like 20 years ago, right? And so I took the zonker strips that I just happened to get from like Bass Pro, and I basically palmered it around the entire shank, and at the end, and it looked pretty good. But the problem was that there was no length on it. And I'm like, oh, these hair jigs suck. I'm like, I don't want to use these. I go, look at how short the hair is. I had no idea what marabou was, or I literally had no idea. I was trying to make what I thought to be marabou jigs or I thought, I'm like, that doesn't look anything like those jigs that I saw that guy with. And I didn't know, and I didn't have anyone to teach me. And so it's just crazy how, actually the fact that I'm saying that right now, that's kind of that should be another area that is to people, for people to understand why I started Jig Squad, right? It's like, I, I'm not too cool for school, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of new guys out there starting off, and they have to have that opportunity to see things. Like, you see there, you're in chat. Like, I'll throw something out there. Like, I always talk about your thread wraps or what type of coating you're using on them, because it looks like glass when you're done. And then you get the on the fly tackle guys, Ben and Brian. They're in chat all the time, hanging out. And I ask these questions because I know these guys know this stuff. It's just, and it doesn't matter. There's so many guys in chat that help out with this stuff. That's why I kind of love it. It's like, we're all learning. We all have our strengths at different things. All right, so you're making the butterbean jig, and you basically are using this. And so what at what point in time do you think that there was that transition for you moving on to another style of jig? Because in my mind, the jig that you're most well known for is tying the I've seen you with some tautog jigs, but the biggest thing that you're putting out there is that poison head, the swing head, and then also the ultra minnow, and then you're also making the manic mullet, which is your shrimp jig, which is the one I'm kind of excited about, even though all the ones I have in front of me are all the ultra minnows. But what changed where you started moving on to this next level of jig work and tying?
Well, I went from the butterbeans. I actually I was a big fan of it's Spro jigs.
Yes.
I was a big fan of Spro, and I was like, God, those are cool looking. And when I wanted to buy a mold for it, the closest thing was the Ultra Minnow mold for it, you know what I mean? So I went and just ordered that, and plus a lot of the guys. I used to fish the Chesapeake Bay in Virginia.
Yeah.
And they love the Spro heads. You know what I mean? Like, so the Ultra Minnow heads, and they love sight casting for cobia and stuff like that. And I was like, I gotta get that mold. You know what I mean? Like, and try it out. You know what I mean? Let's see if I can sight cast for some of them as well. And at that point, I still wasn't selling them yet. And I was just giving them to my friends and stuff, and it was just basic, white and red, like everybody loves. And
right.
And even like with like the manic mullets and stuff like that, when I bought that, it was like it's when I came to Texas, because
let's talk about that a little bit. So so Larry the angler lures and jigs are made in Texas, but I just want to show you something. Oh my gosh, it's hard to see. It's because of my light. I'm really sorry, but I just want to give you an idea of that. It's on a swing head. This is on the poison tail swing head.
Yeah,
but so you, Larry, you're in Texas, right? But the deal is you're an East Coast boy.
Yeah.
So talk about that a little bit. So where's your home? Where'd you grow up? Where's your home waters, and where'd you start off?
Well, I grew up in Virginia Beach, in Virginia, right on the Chesapeake Bay. I ended up moving out to a place called Norfolk, which is the city next door. And where I moved, I'm like prime time. Behind my house was a marina, and within 5 minutes of each side of me, 5-10 minutes, I have 3 fishing piers.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Well, one of them's tore down now, and the other one they're rebuilding. But there's this place called Ocean View Pier, is where it really all began.
It's a famous place too.
Yeah, it's one of the longest piers in America.
And I think maybe it's quite possible that there might be more white bucktails that were thrown at that pier than anywhere else in the world.
I know for sure, man. Like I guarantee you, if you snag up and you get it up, you'll probably see one of my heads on it. I'm telling you, I'm not even gonna lie.
East Coast from Virginia all the way up north through New York and stuff on the ocean, it's white bucktails, whether it's smiling bills or whatever you call them. It does butterbeans, everything. It's a jig. It's a white bucktail jig world,
Yeah, it is. It's like that's like the most famous color, even with hard baits. They like the white and red. I just call it the OG color.
The OG, yeah.
Yeah, and people love it. I love it. I use it. I mean, I've been experimenting with all the colors I make, as well. And like some people just they're like, oh, you're doing too much with your paint, and like, why do you even do it? They don't even care. The fish don't care. Is what I'm saying. And I just wanted to change it up a little bit. You know, like I wanted to give the fish something they didn't see. Or haven't seen. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
that's a good comment, Larry. And I have to admit, I've been a little bit of a hypocrite about that very subject myself sometimes. And over the years, I've said that, for the longest time, like when I was river fishing, I'm a river rat at heart. And when I would be wading the rivers, I would have 3 different colored jig heads. It would be black, white, and green pumpkin. And then when I started fishing the Great Lakes, and keep in mind, I was not designing jigs to the extent that I am now during that time. That was true hardcore fishing, right? I was pouring the heads. But then on the Great Lakes, I started fishing, and I would fish a naked head. They wouldn't even be painted. And I did that for the longest time, and I said you didn't need to do it. But when I started painting is when I started making skirted jigs, silicone predominantly. I just thought, I'm like, it doesn't look complete. If you're going to make a design or something, it just doesn't look complete if you don't have the head painted. And that started off with silicone. Well, then moving on from silicone, then learning how to tie, which I'm still a learner, right? Now I definitely need the heads tied. And I mean, most guys know my posting slowed down. Everyone knows that on Barracuda 8U on my regular Instagram page. But I love that freestyle head. And I love it. And I love it for using, like, to me, it was a treat to make jigs like that, to go fish saltwater when I was down in Florida. And listen, I want to make sure everyone in chat hears this. If you think that there's going to be designs that you see Larry make on his page, or Bucktail designs, and like I've got a lot of 1 ounce Larry Hadley bucktails here, but the reality is I'll use those in the salt. But here's the thing, guys, you don't have to make 1 ounce. You can make 1/2 ounce, 3/8 ounce. There are guys in chat that will tell you that the hands down the #1 slayer of walleye in river systems and lakes is going to be arguably a bucktail jig, tied very specifically in certain ways, but you have to experiment. So the value of having knowledge from somebody like Larry, talking about a flounder fisherman from Texas, right, and talking about these things, is tremendous. And that's what I want everyone to get from the show tonight. There's guys checking in. Like, I'll give you an example. Jose and the guys from No Live Bait Needed might be on tonight in chat watching. I have no idea, but these are guys that are big snook chasers from down in Florida. There's guys up, and I know for sure in the Bay of Green and in the Great Lakes that are big walleye and bass fishermen that are all about bucktail. You get guys like Ryan Salesman down in Alabama that are bucktail fishermen, big ones. So learn something from this tonight, even if you don't think that you're a bucktail fisherman, because you should at least understand what it's all about. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But go ahead, Lair. I want to bring people into my world of why I love this so much, the bucktail fishing.
I'm learning a lot from the freshwater side. Like, if you notice, I'm starting to put out a little bit more freshwater stuff.
Yes.
And I've seen people use like the silicone skirts in the saltwater world a lot.
Sure.
Especially, the round head, the bucktails, or the big ones for flounder fishing, deep wrecks, or deep water. And,
right.
They're using silicone, and I didn't want to get away from the bucktail hair when I was making those kind of jigs and stuff. I was like, man, I don't want to use the silicone. But then I was like, let me try it on the stand-up jigs I've been posting lately, and man, I love it. I love the silicone colors that they come out with.
Sure.
Because you got standard colors for hair. I mean, you can mix and match them and make them look good, but like silicone, it just they have crazy colors, and there's thousands of colors.
let me. You understand that Juliana's in here throwing out highs to her pops. You got that right?
Yeah, that's my daughter. Yeah.
I had to put that up there, man. We have to celebrate family around this place, right?
Mm-hmm. She's all the
So
way in San Diego.
that's very cool. Let me ask you a question. Oh, hold on. Look at this. I'm gonna read this, my man. I'm so proud of you, Dad, for chasing your dream. You inspire me every day. So that's awesome stuff, dude. This is why I love this stuff sometimes. That's good stuff, buddy. All right, look at so here's the thing. So somebody had asked earlier, Larry. I want to ask this, and I don't want to get off. I don't want to get off the silicone part because I want to talk about that for a second. But somebody asked. I don't want this question to pass. Okay. Somebody asked about, do you care about the types of hooks that you're going to put in your jigs? If people ask for specific types of hooks, will you make those adjustments if you can? Because not all molds will always accommodate those adjustments. But do you care about the quality? I'm trying to scroll up and see if I can see this. Oh, hold on. Chris H., here it is. Do you guys find there's a market for pouring jigs with high quality hooks, or do you guys find most people don't consider what hook you toss in? What do you think about that?
For the most part, many of the people that buy from me, they don't really ask because they know, like I would use quality. I'm not going to put I'm not saying anything bad about, hook companies, but like I won't stick an Eagle Claw in any of my molds. And I mean, I did with the butter beans, like when I first started, it was all Eagle Claw, but I've seen them break on me plenty of times trying to pull out of his bag. And it's nothing against, Eagle Claw or nothing like that. But I do have the occasional people that ask me to go with like a 2-time mustad instead of a regular, like the 32786 ones. They would want me to go, I think it's a 32824, which is a 2-time hook. I have a bunch of people ask me for those, especially like up north and the northeast side. They love the stronger hook, you know what I mean? And also my tog jigs, like they want the 2 times as well, and they don't want the regular one because they, especially tog have strong jaws, real strong jaws.
Yeah, so, they do. And Brianna's saying hi too, by the way, buddy. Yeah, and make sure we get a little bit of equal love for the siblings, right?
And all right, they've been through it with me the whole time.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, so listen, that's interesting about hooks. So I do think it's funny because there are guys that, and I don't mean to knock anyone, but there are guys that are that have very specific feelings about different hooks, and there's ways that people have to use their other equipment to manage the things they have. I mean, there are guys that will throw Mondo hooks. I call them the gorilla hooks, right? The gorilla hooks on things for the salt when they're trying to hook up with a snook under the docks at night. That's a 40-incher, and trying to pull them out when they're only 10 feet away from the dock. I mean, I get it. You got to max your equipment out, but I mean, it just depends on where you're fishing, right? And so, there are guys that will ask for different types of hooks for sure, but you also have to understand how your equipment and the line you use, all of that impacts the hooks that you use in your jigs. And I don't know, guys. I have a preference for a lot of things, but I'm going to tell you something. This is my own opinion. One, even an Eagle Claw, the Eagle Claw tinned, I've never had a bad experience with them myself. The rest of the Eagle Claw hooks, I don't use that much. What do I predominantly use? I use a big mix of a lot of different things. Probably, I like Gamakatsu a ton. I like their 604s. They call the Gamakatsu 604 heavy wire hook. I personally think it's a light wire hook. It's my own opinion. There are lighter wires than it, but they bill it as heavy wire. I still like that.
They're definitely stronger than I think it's the 32746.
They are. I agree. And here's the thing. There's a lot of good mustad hooks, especially when it comes to if you're making the poison tails or even for this ultra minnow head. And to be honest with you guys, I keep playing around more and more with the Victory hooks because there's some pretty beef and stout.
Actually, what's in those now is I had bought
in the Ultra Minnows or the swing heads, Lair?
In the Ultra Minnows, I actually used their I think it's like a 11876, I believe. Yeah, those are the Victory hooks in those.
It's so hard to see the paint jobs, guys, but you have to check. Just actually, don't even look at the paint. Look at those thread wraps. Look at that glass on that.
I actually take time to do those thread wraps. Like I pride myself in that one. I'm not.
Larry, have you seen? There's a guy on Instagram that I just recently started following, our Jigsquad account, and he I think he's called Dead Reckoning Bucktails. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so guys, listen, you gotta look this guy up. His name's Dead Reckoning Bucktails, and I've actually reposted some of his stuff on Jigsquad. But he'll tie his bucktails up, and then at the end he'll put on like a 140 or 120, a smaller thread size, and he'll do some cool cross wraps, and then I call it glossing the thread at the end, however you're sealing it, whether it's Sally Hansen's, bone dry. It's just, there's cool ways to jazz up your jigs sometimes. Let's not miss that point, because I know I wanted to talk about that too. So you're tying up, you tie off on your jigs, and then what are you coating your thread wraps with? I know the answer to this, but I want to tell other people, because I think that it's there's a lot of different people that use different products, and I think this is worth mentioning because no one else has talked about this particular product yet. Yeah, I have it, but go ahead.
I use the Danville flat wax
210. That's the thread you use, and then you coat it with what?
Solarez, bone dry.
Bone dry.
Right. While I'm spinning it on the vise, while I'm spinning it to get it evenly coated, then I hit it with the UV light, and that bone dry doesn't really have no tackiness to it, so it just comes off, shiny, real shiny. I mean, I'm pretty sure those ones are still shiny, right? Right there.
Yeah. Hey, look at I think it's Brian. It could be Ben, but I think it's Brian on the fly tackle. You tied on some of your jigs earlier this week. Swing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good guy right there, I tell you.
Folks, listen, so if you need to see if you need to get a hold of Larry ever, you can get a hold of him on Instagram. Larry, is that the best way to get a hold of you? You do sell or on Facebook, you do sell your jigs. I've never done this, guys, and I'm not going to do it tonight, but I don't go over people's prices and all that kind of stuff. All I'll say is I think Larry's stuff is very, very reasonable for what it is. So if you connect with them and you're looking for jigs, so be it. Hopefully this is a learning experience tonight about, encouraging you to try bucktail and stuff like that. And so, Larry, let me ask you a question, because we were further talking about it. So your head, so after you're done painting your heads, right? Mm-hmm. And I know people are going to want to talk about paint. We are going to talk about paint, everyone. I know some of you out there are dying just to talk about paint. What are you finishing your heads with coat-wise? Are you coating them? Are you dipping them? Or are you only managing your adhesive you're using for your eyes? What's the final step for your finish on your heads?
Well, after I'm painting it, like, it already comes out, the paint that I do already comes out shiny.
Okay.
Like, it just is, and with the eyes, I actually, I glue them down, but I coat them with Solarez, the thin, and I put it on top for, extra support. And plus it creates like a smooth finish.
On top of the head or over the eye, you're saying, Larry?
Over the eye, just the eye. Yeah. I don't go over the head. I don't want to ruin the paint.
Because there is a recession on any jig that's going to have an eye socket, right? Uh-huh. Once you put that eye in, guys, there's still a concaveness to it, even with that eye in there. And so when you use whatever material or whether it be Sally Hansen's, I use Sally Hansen's a lot, bone dry, any UV resin, whatever you're going to use, when you put that over the top of the eye, it spreads out and fills in the concave corners where the eye, the adhesive eye actually meets the concave end of the lead head or the painted head. Yeah, so it's a good way to adhere it. It is what it is. You want it to last. If you're going to make a jig that has eyes on it, you want it to last. So slather the heck out of that sucker on the top.
I had to figure that stuff out because even with using like any kind of epoxy underneath the eye, they were still falling off.
Yes.
And I would get, like, when I first started, selling them, I would get, messages like, hey, my eye fell off, sometimes that happens, but I didn't want it to happen anymore. So I try to figure out something else. And I was like, I'm a UV. I actually UV'd the whole head at first, or actually resined the whole head at first. And it just didn't come out how I wanted it, even with spinning it, and it just wasn't right. And I was like, I'm gonna just do the eye, because that's the main part that's falling off. I mean, the paint ain't falling off. So I just did the eye, and it came out great.
All right, let's talk about this. So, so here I want to talk about this. And this isn't specifically just about your head painting, your specific head painting technique. So one of the things that I used to find when I would use, let's say, a multicolored head. So let's say just typical standard painting. Let's say I would dip, I would coat the whole head, whether you're using a fluid bed or just the can. And then let's say I was going to tap on a separate color, or I was going to dip. I don't like dipping second colors. I like to tap on second colors. One of the things that I've been doing for a long time, since way back in the day, and I don't do it as much now because I'm not doing as many two-tones. I have a whole new adventure. I want to get into airbrushing heads a little bit. But I need to get to the summer to have some more time. But one of the things that I would do is when I would slather the whole head with Sally Hansen's, and what would happen is it would start to eat the paint. Now this is a good thing, and I would make sure that you have to limit your brush strokes, right, when you coat an entire head. But when I knew I was on the transition area between where I tapped on with a paintbrush paint, I would make sure that I went over that area, and so it would blend the paint a little bit, help with what visually was the transition, right? And I knew I had to do that. So I actually, it's a technique that you have to learn all in of itself, right? But you can't do that with your. Well, actually, it just depends, I guess, what you're doing. You couldn't technically do the same thing I'm saying with what you're doing with your paint technique, because it would start to overblend the design patterns that were created because of your paint technique. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do, because I don't want to take away from the patterns inside there. I've used Sally Hansen only on just the line when I first started on the top line. I've never actually used it on the head part itself.
On single colors, it works great, right? On single colors, or like I said, back in the day when I was trying to blend that transitional end, but now I'm kind of moving on and trying new things, right? So like I don't know if I would do that as much. For a long time, what I would also do, Larry, and I've said this before, if I'm making jigs for the river and stuff like that, where I'm going to be putting plastics on the back end of it, and maybe it's not the freestyle head, it's just a regular round ball head, which is one of my favorite jigs, I will take the Sally Hansen's and I will coat the head after painting them and not even bake them. I'll dip, I'll put them over the heat gun again, I'll leave them on longer on the heat gun, give them more time, and then and I might even go back over it with the heat gun sometimes, not too much anymore, because usually what I'll do is, one, I don't even care. I don't need, if I heat my jig heads that I'm using for plastics, I don't need to bake them in the oven. That's just how I do things, right? And if I feel like I do, then I'll go and throw Sally Hansen on them, and I'm done. I don't need to wait and stack them all up in the oven. I do bake in the oven sometimes, but it's all about what you prefer. If I was selling jigs, to be honest with you, everything would change, right? But I don't sell jigs, right? So, I mean, let's talk about this, because it's everyone wants some of the juice on some of this, right? So you guys, listen, I'm telling you right now, you're not gonna have a farm to buy by the time this show's over tonight and be able to go off and start a Larry Hadley jig head painting factory. But you are going to get a few little bonus tips on how to get started. So let's talk about just getting started. If you want to create a different level of jig design, if you don't know what I'm talking about, guys, I try and hold this up, but it doesn't Hold on. Let me see if I block the light a little bit. Let's see. You can see the heads. You really have to go on Instagram. I'm trying to block the light with my other hand. You have to go on Instagram and you have to look at the head designs. And Larry, I don't know how your light is if you got any in front of you, but basically the head design pretty much looks like something that would have been hydro dipped, but it's not hydro dipped. Okay. It is a technique created with powder paint. And Larry's going to talk to the extent that he feels comfortable talking about this tonight. And go ahead, Larry. The floor is yours.
Showing.
Let me make you big here, buddy.
I don't know if that's.
It doesn't. Oh, there you go. A little bit of an angle, right?
Yeah. That one I haven't even put out yet. I call that powdered donut.
It looks freaking dolor. Oh, yeah, juicy. Yeah, and got the other one. That green one's the one I like, Larry. There you go. That looks good.
That's the look of the Irish right there.
That's the one. That's this one right here, my man. I love that head. I don't know if it's going to get a focus. No, maybe not. Yeah.
So listen, I'm like, it's kind of hard for me to pump out the secrets, you know, like, because it is, you know, my second livelihood kind of thing, you know, and
right. But, and you shouldn't have to. You don't have to spill all the beans. It shouldn't happen.
I'm, you know, like, but fishing is all about learning, you know, and it's all about, you know, like you know, I would feel weird not to put out a little bit of it because I do ask questions as well to other people and they don't have to tell me their secrets. You know what I mean? I never about painting because this painting is something that, you know, I experimented from day one with. Actually, I'm going to tell you, I found it out by accident. Like,
okay.
How I did this paint. It was all by accident. I was just dipping. I was like on autopilot. I had like a big order and I was just dipping. I used fluid beds and dipping and going back and forth. And I actually dipped in the wrong one at first. And I was like, oh man, let me dip it back in here and then back. And then when I did it and I put it back on the heat, I saw it spread. And I was like, whoa, can I do that again? And I did it again. And I was like, whoa, this looks awesome. I totally forgot about all those other jigs I just painted on autopilot. And I was like, oh, you know, forget those. I threw them in the bucket. I have a big bucket.
Let's talk about this because this is what I want everyone to hear. That what he is about to say is the most important thing of this whole entire thing. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, I have a 5-gallon bucket in my garage where I paint, and it's full of, you know, jigs that I painted that didn't come out the way I wanted it to come out. You know, like you know, with the patterns, the cool patterns and stuff like that. I have experimented with. I think I have there's probably like 400 to 500 jigs in there, hooks and all. You know, this wasted
in the bucket.
In the bucket, just
dead reckoning. The bucket.
Like, Davy Jones locker right there.
Davy Jones locker.
Yeah, like it's just sitting there, and like, you know, I'm waiting for the day that I'm gonna actually melt it all down because that paint and that stuff smells when you burn it back down. And hopefully I could try to retrieve the hooks because, you know, there's a lot in there. And, you know, it's trial and error, you know, like I'll put it out there, you know, like I'm not going to give you all of it, but it is, you know, ProTech powder paint. There's 3 things that they carry that will do that effect. And those are the mines. That's what I'm going to say, the mines. All 3 of the mines. The silver mine, the gold mine, and the copper mine. Now, there's techniques on how you do it. I can't give away those techniques because it's hard to explain first off. Sure. And it's actual process for what I do to make it so evenly distributed. Like, because you can, you know, throw it on the heat real quick and it'll spread like, you know, like a wildfire. And you don't want it, I don't want it to do it. I mean, it looks good on other people's jigs that have been testing it out as well, but I don't want that. I want it to almost emulate like fish scales.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Almost, you know what I mean?
And the only, and let me say this too. The only way that happens is by trying different things. Guys, let me the reason this is okay, Larry and I have been talking for a while. And Larry and I have never met in person, but we've talked, we've chatted back and forth for a long time, right? And I consider him a friend, right? And the crazy part about this is Larry knows this. I held off for a long time and try about getting him on. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was one show where I had said, people somehow, I think the paint technique came up, Larry, right? And I had said, I go, ask Larry Hadley. He's in chat right now. I have never once asked him how he did this. And to this day, I still haven't. But like everyone else, you have to figure things out. Now, I'm going to tell you, I am not trying to replicate this technique. And I'll tell you why, because I don't have the time. And the thing is, just think, this is what I want you to think about. This is the only thing Kuda can add to this about this paint technique is simply this. One, you got 3 ingredients that are foundation for a lot of this. He just told you. But past that, if you look at his jig, hold on, I'm going to pull this one up right now because orange is like probably one of my favorite colors. I've got 1, 2, 3. For sure, I have 3 colors on this one. I know I've got at least 3 on this one. There's some that have 4 or 5 or more, right? And, oh, by the way, I don't know if I held that one up with a little bit of feathers hanging on the back end. Look at that delightfulness. So the point is this one's got 1, 2, 3. So minimum of 3 colors.
That one has 5.
That one has 5? I'm like blinded by my own like ring light right now.
That one has 5.
5. So guys, listen, you don't get 5 paints on a head unless you do something 5 times. So imagine most standard locks. Most standard locks are combinations like the old bike chains. They'll have 4 little rollers on there. You got 4 combos. This has 4 or 5. You have to do it in the right order, the right time, the right temperature. This is why the 5-gallon bucket topic, Davy Jones locker, is probably one of the most important things of this whole thing. It's very cool, and those people that really put in the time will start to learn techniques that replicate this sometimes. But the thing is, it is a process, and I think Larry and I had talked about this beforehand, like that, right, Larry? That's one of the big things. You have to know that you're not going to be able to do it consistently unless you put in the time to learn. And Larry's not here tonight to go and tell everyone what that is, right? But he's given many people a starting point, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, there's a couple guys out there that are actually doing a pretty good job with it, and they never even asked me that once. So they're experimenting too. So Trippy's never asked me not once. He has never asked me once, but he's doing a great job with them on his heads. You know what I mean? But we have never talked about how I did my paint. And he's been doing it. I've never even spoken to what is his name? We talked about him before. Jungle Jim.
Jungle Jim, yep. That's another one.
He makes them as well. His looks great too.
And Jim, I'll be honest with you, Jungle Jim figured out how to do that on his own too. And guys, listen, as you're listening to this, I'm not going to lead you to the promised land. If you hear the name Jungle Jim, you need to figure out who Jungle Jim is or where he's at. He's online on social media, right? That's all I'll say. And you can learn things from people. And I'm going to tell you something because he's in chat and you guys know I like to do this. So Trippy Sticks, I have his little comment highlighted. Trippy Sticks, he makes crappie jigs, right? Some awesome crappie jigs. But he also dabbles in making bass jigs. But I'm going to tell you something. He's learning to do some real cool paint techniques. Phenomenal designer. I love him to death. He's a person that I'm hopeful to have on the show. I have invited him. He's working on some moving things and Wi-Fi things, but he's a great dude. And I'm real excited to have him on. But here's the highlight. You got a guy like Trippy Sticks in chat that's working on this paint technique, and he's a crappie jig maker, right? And then you got my mug sitting in the suburbs of Chicago, born and raised in the city though, right? And then you got Larry fishing for flounder down in Texas. Guys, this is what our community is all about, right? So it's a good starting point, you know. And Larry, let me ask this. So you mentioned the three things, right? Protect, silver, gold, copper mine. Those are one component, and obviously there's color in them, so people should be able to go and try and figure out other components and figure out where to go. I just want to say, all of your technique is all powder paint.
All powder paint.
All powder paint.
Yeah.
Nothing
okay. Else.
Guys, yeah. I want you to know that I didn't believe him when he first told me that. So, and what, almost a year ago, there? About a year ago. First question I asked him, I sent him a message. I go, man, those jigs are great. I go, are you hydro dipping them? He's like, I'm not hydro dipping them. And then we got to talking about powder paint and everything else. But that was like early on in our friendship, right? But anyway, I mean, Larry, I will say this: it's inspiring. Larry, let's do a little in between here for a second, and then I want to get back to more jig making, because some people, you guys have been on for a little bit, right? And I made a comment about a surprise, right, and a little unveiling. So I'm kind of excited about this, and I thought this was the time to do it, and I'll tell you why. Because Larry knows about some things that I'm about to talk about, right? Because I was throwing some things his way, and he got to see a few things. So the reality is, there are some. I'm going to talk about how this is going to. Some things are going to go going forward, but then also about I have a few stickers that are in production right now as we speak. Like, I'm not talking, I'm produced. They're my designs. All my stickers, there will be more. All my stickers are going to be my design. Some of you may have seen one that came out on my Instagram story. This is totally different than that Instagram story design. I'll show that tonight, but that will be coming. But there are other stickers in production. I'm going to show two of them to you tonight. And basically, Larry, let me ask you a question. So I have more than two stickers. Larry's seen more than two. Larry, how do the other stickers look that you've seen?
Man, there's that one. I'm gonna let you do it, but that one is amazing. The one you sent me the other day.
The one that I said might be a magnet?
Yeah.
Okay.
That thing is amazing, man. I tell you, that thing is so cool. Like, I would rock it all the time. Like,
there's some cool stuff coming.
On my truck. I'm not even gonna lie. If it's a magnet, I'll throw it on the side of my truck. I would.
All right, guys, it was good because Larry and I were talking about this a little bit. So this is why. So I wound up showing Larry some of my designs I've been working on. So I'm going to show you two in a second, but I want to talk about this for a minute, and I want you guys to hear this from me of what I've been thinking. So, you know, as things move along with Jigsquad, I've been giving a lot of thought because, you know, like that 1,000 subscriber thing is like a big milestone on YouTube, right? That's when a lot of things change, right? Probably after this show tonight, I'll hit the requirement for 4,000 watch hours and all these other things, but whatever, you know, but that 1,000 subscriber thing, a lot of things start to change as well. And what it is I move towards that, you know, they start talking about things like subscribers. You can have subscribers to your channel, membership, monthly membership fees, all these different things. And I know I have a lot of friends in the YouTube scene that do these different things and maybe do an extra stream and have channel memberships, and you get different badges next to your name. And I thought about all these things, and I said, I want to, I basically want to be able to earn a few dollars because I'm in my wife's station right here. This is like my wife's area, right? And I put this fish behind me up here every single show. I take down the pictures behind here and I put my fish up. I'm creating another area for myself. This is my wife's microphone for voiceovers. I'm gonna wind up wanting a new microphone. I have my lights already. I'd like to update lights and things, but there's some costs associated with me running Jigsquad, right? And I don't have sponsors that pay for anything, right? You guys know that I work with Duo Molds. For myself, they obviously are tremendously supportive of Jigsquad, and I can't thank them enough. But the thing is, I decided that I do want to generate a few dollars to help put back into Jigsquad and do different things. And I decided that the way I'm going to do it is is I want to give things to people, right? And so I decided that, you guys see the thumbnails I make. I take a lot of pride in my thumbnails and my designs. And so I decided I'm going to make stickers. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put two packs of stickers out. And whatever, it's going to change depending on what they cost, if I change the size up and different things like that. But, let's say, I think the first one I'm coming out with, I don't know if I'm charging $8 shipped or $10 shipped. It's 2 stickers. But every once in a while, I'm going to come up with these 2-pack stickers. So I figure everyone's talking about it. They want stickers. I probably have about 8 to 10 designs created already. And I'm going to ease into it. We're going to wait till I get to the summer, but I do have some coming right away. So let me see if I can do this. I want to show you guys so you see this right now. All right, let's go share screen. I got to pick the tab. All right. So this is the original. This is kind of real plain, simple. By the way, this is not the logo. I have somebody, a graphic designer, is working on the logo, which is going to be coming soon too. But these are just stickers that I designed myself. This one's a little simple. The second one, I really hope everyone likes. Well, I'm going to share this one with you. If you guys could see, let me click back. So this first one, this is going to be the first sticker. I think it's going to be like a 3-inch sticker. I'm going to change the sizes up and make some of the future ones a little bit bigger. But anyway, that's the first sticker. Pretty cool. It's got this greenish grayish color. Pretty simple. And then let me see. This is the one I think everyone's going to really like. Let me do this one. And then this is going to be the second sticker in the first sticker pack that I'm going to put out. Let me go share screen. Chrome tab. Yeah, Clint, exactly. That was my goal. I wanted to make something clean. Now here's the one. I really like this one.
Yeah, that one's amazing. That one's dope.
I wish you could see it a little bigger. I don't know what it looks like on your screen, but it's got the little treasure chest on the side. Set the hook with a little Captain Hook thing underneath it. Like I said, all my design. Hey, it is what it is. It's not going to be a square sticker. It is a circular sticker as well with that real light blue border. But that's it. That's going to be the first sticker 2-pack. And so, and like I said, the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do 2-packs. It just makes sense to me. I can release 2 stickers at a time, and it doesn't break the bank for people. It's your way of having Jig Squad stickers. Maybe we'll work on hats someday, but the reality is this is a way to kind of support the channel, and it doesn't cost a lot, and you get something out of it, right? And it's not a live stream or something or a channel membership. It's you actually, it's stickers, right? And so it's not going to hurt anyone's bank account because it's going to be cheap. Like I said, this first one, I don't know what I'm going to go yet. I think it's either going to be I'm pretty sure I'm going to go $8 on it. But depending on what I get the stickers for, how many I get, that changes everything, right? So Marvin likes number 2. So this is it, guys. This is kind of how I decided that I'm going to try and generate a few dollars to help put back in the Jig Squad and do these sticker packs. And, I know it's you probably could do it cheaper, but at the end of the day, if I make a couple of bucks and I may have my son help with putting the mailer together, I'm going to have a little insert in there so they don't get bent. And, like I said, I'm working on it. Yeah, Anthony says it's a great hat logo. So, yeah, guys, anything could happen down the line. Like the big thing is my sister is a graphic designer. She's working on the logo for me. I wasn't sure. I thought that I was going to say I was coming out with a sticker pack, and I wasn't going to tell you guys what they were until they came out, right? Or say you have to order them and find out what they were. I just said, you know what? Everyone's been asking about it. I'm finally just going to put these out there. There are some other cool ones that Larry's seen that he's really excited about. But this first sticker pack is going to be those 2 that I just showed you. So, and like I said, it's a few bucks. It's a way to support the channel. Like other things that'll come up, like StreamYard. In the upper right-hand corner, it has this little StreamYard logo. It's I don't have a paid membership with StreamYard. If you have a paid membership with StreamYard, that comes off. Little things like that give you more opportunity to do more things with Jig Squad. And so, I'd like for Jig Squad to expand a little bit as we move along. And this is my way of making sure you get something out of it that's a little bit different. What about magnets? What Larry knows what it is, but there's a real cool one that I want to make a magnet out of. What do you guys think? Magnets are no, I don't think a lot of people are putting magnets out there. Stickers are cool. There'll be stickers, and there'll also be there's one magnet I want to make for sure. So I thought something a little different, so people can experience some different things. So anyway, guys, that's my intention. And the best part is you don't have to buy it. There's no requirement. It's not going to change Jig Squad. The entirety of the show is minimally going to be, I'm going to try and do 2 shows a month, right? We're going every other week now. Maybe during the winter we can change it up and add some more in depending. But anyway, Larry saw these, so I at least wanted Larry. I thought, well, Larry's here. This kind of makes sense that I'm going to bring this up with him here. And you know what it is? Larry likes pirates.
Yeah.
He likes pirates too. And a couple of these have pirate themes. Yeah, in the background there, Larry's got here. You see in the upper right there, the pirate ship, guys? Yeah. This guy.
That's actual a puzzle.
Very cool.
Yeah. I love that's the Queen's Anne's Revenge. I love like the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like my favorite show. That's why I was laughing when you had posted the thing on Instagram with the Pirates of the Caribbean theme.
I put that on for you.
Yeah. I was like, hey.
I laughed because I go, it's a great theme. So anyway, but
you know what's funny? I was gonna actually, before I named it Anglor, I was gonna name it Davy Jones Locker. And the reason behind that is because I was actually where I was getting my lead was actually catching my lead. Like hitting a snag and pulling up that lead. And that's what it actually was melting down at first. You know what I mean? Like, was lead that I had caught. I would save it and I would put it in a bucket. And then, you know, when I bought the lead pour and all that stuff, I put it all in there. I mean, it smoked like hell, but the barnacles. But that's how I started. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna call it Davy Jones Locker because I'm taking it from the bottom of the sea. You know, like
that's great.
Yeah, but
that is great.
I decided not to go that way because I didn't think too many people knew what Davy Jones Locker is, you know. So
you know, the thing is, sometimes I learned this a long time ago. There's times where like I like even just making designs. Like I made one the other day, and like my kids and the wifey are like the test market. I have a good buddy at work. He's Jig Squad Pat, I'm gonna call him. I ask people, I'm like, hey, what do you guys think? You know, and they and like I'm like, wow, this one looks great. And then I asked something, like, I don't know about that one. I'm like, what? What's wrong? I said this looks great. But the thing is, I mean, I think it's good to, you know, you get that feedback from people. So I don't know, guys. I love the design element of things. Like I come from a design background. You know, my family, my mom, my younger sister, even my older sister are all involved in the design world. So I have hopefully a little bit of skill in me, right? So, but anyway, this is my way. This is what I've decided upon that I'm going to do with Jig Squad to kind of generate a few bucks. And I like it because I think it's giving back to you guys and allows me to be creative and make some cool designs. So, all right, listen, back to Jig Talk. All right, so we've talked about the paints a little bit, and so I'm not going to be a dead horse about the paints. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, that's a starting point, and that's where you go. But talk to me about bucktails. Where are you? What are you using? What other materials are you using besides bucktail there?
Mainly, like when I do the bucktails, you know, you got one of my feathered ones.
Yeah,
and those are, pretty much mainly I use those. I sell those ones for sight casters.
Okay.
Sight casting fish.
Sure.
It gives it, you know, more of that. It actually flares out once it hits in the water. People love it for cobia.
Yeah, all these Larry, all the ones you're tying to have oh god, let's see if I can do it.
Yeah,
I didn't do a good
tied
job.
in a hook keeper and
a
guy's actually in chat. This guy named Marvin.
Okay.
He actually recommended me putting those in because like me, I use Gulp, Berkeley Gulp, and you know that and the fish in the Chesapeake Bay, they tear up everything. They got bluefish that tear up everything.
Yes.
Poland. and it snags that trailer, and he was like, hey, it's sliding down. Like, is there a way you could put in a hook or a bait keeper?
Sure.
And, at first I was actually taking a little drill and drilling a little hole in the back of the cone.
And then gluing it?
Yeah, and, epoxying it in there. But, I can actually, with some force, I could pull it out. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
Yeah, with that one, I actually tie that on.
Okay.
And epoxy it, and then UV resin over it. You can see that.
So funny. It's interesting you said it, because like I purposely didn't want to, smash all the bucktail down so much to see exactly how you did that. But I like the fact that wire keeper is in there, right? And so, and you know who I learned this from? Not that this was like any big secret, but Brian Cole from Brian's Custom Tackle. He ties wire keepers in on a lot of jigs, and then all of a sudden, all these other jig makers that are come on, I start seeing them more and more tying them in. There's a lot of guys like that started, modifying their molds a little bit to get the wire keeper in. So it seems to be like the hot thing. Let me ask you a question. What are some preferred trailers that you're using for yourself in the salt? What are you fishing for? I mean, flounder, you're probably catching reds, all that type of stuff off the piers and the jetties, right? Well, so what are you putting trailers on yours, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer of Berkeley Gulp. I just love it. You know what I mean? Like I was started off with like Zoom, the jerk sheds from like Zoom. I think they call it Super Fluke.
Yep.
And then like the guy in chat, Marvin, he put me onto this stuff called Gulp. And
yes,
man,
like the swimming mullets. Are you talking like the swimming mullets?
I use them all. Like
I love the swimming mullets.
Like, swimming mullets probably my favorite to use on a freestyle head. Like, because I've been using the freestyle head a lot out here. Because I mean, the round profile helps with the rocks. Like, there's lots of jetties here in down in Galveston where I go fishing.
Yes.
So I use those 4-inch swimming mullets on the back of the chartreuse or pearl white. Those are the main colors I use. I'll dibble and dabble in the other colors, but my main one would be the chartreuse or the swimming mullet. Now they got this new one they came out with just like last year. It's like a paddle tail. It's a different type of paddle tail than they used to have. And man, this thing, I don't think I have any on me, but man, I tell you, that's like the best thing. And they got this one called Pogey. And those right there is what I use mainly on those jigs.
It's funny, Larry, because the one I love the most is that 4-inch Gulp swimming mullet, which for anyone that doesn't know what a Gulp swimming mullet is, you think that it would be a paddle tail. It's not. It's a curly tail, right? And a grub. And I love it. I don't know what to say. Like and interesting you said the freestyle head, because if I was throwing hair jigs when I was down in Florida last summer? Yeah. Hair jigs. And then the other thing is I was throwing them on that freestyle head, just the swimming mullets themselves. And then I was cheating even more. Like what I did is I would take a little piece of fish bites and cut off a little square and piece it on the hook in the end. And I'd retrieve that sucker, popping snook off the beach. And then I caught a tarpon on it. I'd go down to the dock at night, and I'd go down there about 9-10 o'clock at night, fish for an hour or so. And I'd catch mangroves, speckled trout, ladyfish, snook, and I got a baby tarpon all on a freestyle jig with the Gulp, man. It's like you can't go wrong.
It's probably becoming my most favorite jig, honestly, is that freestyle. There's so much like I could do with that, and they're actually easy to make. Besides my fat fingers trying to put in the hook keeper and that thing.
I want to say something too, Larry. So portionally on your bucktails, I just want to talk for a second about portionally, like how much material you're using, which is like it's just it's in that perfect amount range, right? Which whatever that is, it's probably different for different people. But it's just tied it's really well balanced. Some guys, like I personally think like the more Northeast guys, and I could be wrong. So if you're a Northeast striper fisherman and I'm offending you, then I apologize. But sometimes they really just throw a mops amount of bucktail on their jigs up north, right? And like I kind of like a little more like you're literally like at a perfect amount. And it's funny because it reminds me a lot of the walleye guys up north, right? Of how much they use, which even, to be honest with you, even use less than you have in some of yours, right? In a lot of different ways. Depends on who the designer is. Like I know my buddy who makes walleye jigs, at least for around here in the rivers that we fish in the northern half of Illinois, for walleye. You know, he uses a sparser amount of hair. And then, you know, it's just interesting to see the different design elements. But guys, listen, the cool thing about bucktails, right? And even if you're not tying them, let's say you're just buying them, right? There's a lot of good designers out there. Like Larry makes some phenomenal ones. On the Fly makes some. A lot of guys. There's just guys. Look at the Instagram. Anyone you see of me posting bucktails, look at their stuff. They all sell, and they all make some phenomenal stuff. If you're not going to tie them yourself, and I have friends that use them in January and February vertical jigging for walleye in rivers and holes, and right, and they'll use them on the Great Lakes, and they'll use them in saltwater. And guys, I can't tell you. Listen, if you go on vacation with your family and you've ever gone near a beach, whether it be the ocean or the Gulf, I could tell you stories about fishing out of a boat. Ironically enough, down outside of Fort Myers, throwing 3/8 ounce bucktails from the boat. This is how I was taught to fish bucktails off the beach. No, this is no joke. The first time I ever fished bucktails off the beach, the guy we were with, he says, throw it up on the sand. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, throw it up on the sand. So we're in the boat. We're not even, maybe we're out by the first sandbar at best, right? Throw it up on the beach. Okay. You throw it on the beach. I got to tell you, that thing, you could stick your toe in the water at the beach where the wash comes up. And when that bucktail hit the wash, there were snook and fish just pounding it. So if you go on vacation anywhere and you bring a 2-piece rod, medium action rod, a medium heavy action spinning rod, and you should have bucktails, and you should bring them on vacation with you, and you should fish them off the beach. That and Berkeley gulps and regular ball head jigs, and you'll catch fish. So if that does that for you on vacation in the salt, even if you're not a regular saltwater fisherman, you should learn how to use these things for freshwater because the application is tremendous. And let's see, hold on. Freestyle. Do you have any freestyle in front of you right now? Because otherwise I would have to go in the basement and grab a box. And we don't have a co-host. I don't want to leave on Larry. I'd have to have him talk for a while on his own.
I don't have any more right now.
Keith, listen, if you go, oh my gosh, I wish I had a freestyle up here. I don't. So somebody just described it, Keith. If you go and look on the Jig Squad page, you'll see old pictures of freestyle head. So Keith, what a freestyle head looks like, somebody just said, imagine like an aspirin head, or better yet, let's just say a ball head jig, a round ball head jig where the sides have a concave eye socket, and then there's a 3-dimensional eye. You'll send Larry a PM. Great. Perfect. Keith, are you on Instagram, buddy? Or one of us will send you a pic. You'll get an idea, buddy. But it's just basically it's like a ball head jig with a smushed inside, right? And that's what a freestyle jig looks like. Like an aspirin head, very much like an old aspirin head. So, Larry, he's going to send a message to us on Instagram.
Okay, cool.
We'll be able to get it to him. It's just an
eye on it.
Here you go. Let's see. So, Keith, does that give you an idea there, bub? Little concave, and that's where you drop the little eye in. So it's just a recession on like a ball head jig, or it looks like an aspirin head. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, that's that right there. I love throwing those for flounder down here. So it's fun, and a lot of those wade fishermen love those.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about this, because this is the one I don't know how I missed this. So on your Instagram page, I've seen when you've posted the manic mullets with UV on them and all kinds of crazy cool stuff. Some super cool manic mullets. And you guys, if you don't know what the manic mullet is, go look at Larry's page. It's a mold. The manic mullet is a mold. It looks like it's a snooty head. If you remember the old snooty head jigs, to an extent, with a large eye socket. Yeah, hold it up, Larry. Let's see. Let's make you big. That is a snooty head. Excuse me, a manic mullet head. It looks similar. The head looks a little similar to the old snooty head, right? But you make these shrimp jigs, and I've seen the manic mullet. I have the manic mullet. I remember when Do It Molds first came out with the smoke purple or ProTech came out with the smoke purple paint. And I remember I made up a whole bunch of manic mullets in that smoke purple. And I've used the heck out of them. They're great. You can use them for a lot of different things in the salt, in the fresh water. They make a great head for a swim jig if you want to use them. My own opinion is they have, for the freshwater guys, they just have a beefier hook. I forgot what the number is for the hook, but the hook is beefier and more than I use for many of my swim jigs. So I use it in different applications, but for the salt, it's great. But you're using the manic mullet head to tie what everyone's calling your shrimp jigs. Do you have any made up? I want you to show this jig. You know, Keith, it's interesting you say that.
Actually, the first one I made, actually. I save all the first ones I make. And
oh yeah, so you see the shrimp eyes on the back, guys. That's what makes everything a shrimp jig, right?
Yeah.
But show the head a little bit, Larry. You'll see the head.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic head. It's pretty diverse. You can use for a lot of different things. But I'm really excited about that jig. I kind of want to. I'm going to order some of those from you, the shrimp jigs, because I never tied with the manic mullet. I just kind of like the fact that you did. And it does make sense to me as like a shrimp jig. Like I can see that. Actually, you remember I made the comment to you, I actually see that as working for like when we go down to Texas sometime, or for the very reasons you use it on the piers or on the jetties.
One of the main like live baits down here is live shrimp.
Right.
So everything eats live shrimp down here. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Look at this. Look what so two comments here. Let's get your fish on. So this guy, guys, if you haven't checked out Get Your Fish On's YouTube page, he's a fantastic dude. Tremendous experience in the fishing industry, and you just have to go and watch. He's a down to earth guy. He's funny. He's witty. He does a lot of streaming on other people's shows and helping out in their shows, co-hosting. But he's been tremendously valuable to the fishing industry, and he's been involved with a lot of companies. He's been connected with Patrick Sabile, and if you don't know who Patrick Sabile is, the guy that brought out the Spool Tech brand, which is huge in the saltwater game. But his brand on Instagram is called the Band of Anglers. He's bringing in Oceanborn, all these different brands of his. Patrick Sabile. This guy has had 100 plus IGFA world records. Get Your Fish On is good buddies with him. He's just a great guy. You need to check him out. He's tremendously knowledgeable, and I like him even more because he just said, he goes, that jig would slay bonefish. And that is so true. And I have it in my head that I would like to fish for bonefish with a jig like that. It just kind of has that I don't know why. Larry, you know what I have in my head? I want to see that manic mullet head almost with more of the flat styled crab ties with a little thicker bodied. I'm going to mess around with it, but that thing's got bonefish written all over it too. I agree. In the surf, Clint's saying, yeah, this is going to work in the surf. What's Keith say, Larry? Is that shrimp jig head the same as the 2.0 jig heads that he'd got from you? What did you call them? Snooty head?
No, those are manic mullet. Those are the manic mullet heads.
And actually, guys, listen, you got to understand too on this manic mullet mold, a 2-aught, I mean, do you got mustads in there, Lair? Is that the hook that whatever it calls for?
Yeah, I just that particular batch. Yeah, those are mustad, the 32786.
And I think maybe the Victory, some of the new Victories will fit in there too. But
I'm actually kind of leaning towards Victory because they're pretty stout and sharp. Almost, I think a little bit more than mustad, honestly.
I agree with you, and it's funny because I I cut my teeth with the Victory hooks that were more their 575 styles, the light wires,
Right.
but they're heavier stuff. Since I started, I didn't even start using their heavier wires of the Victory hooks until I started seeing guys posting flipping jigs and all these other jigs. Gary Sheets from 9K Elite Lures, he starts putting out, God, I don't know if it's a swim jig or a chatterbait with a Victory hook on the back end. Like they're beefy hooks, but these hooks, you put a 2-aught in a manic mullet, and those hooks, whether it be the Victory or the mustad, they're stout hooks.
Yeah,
they are not light wire hooks at all. But interesting. I mean, it's just a different profile. It's a different jig. I feel it's a little more compressed. Compact, meaning from the eyelet to the back round bend of the hook, it's not. There's not a tremendous distance. So I don't know. It's just a different type of jig, guys. Some really cool stuff. All right, so Larry, let's talk about bucktail. So you're a flounder guy, right? And how often are you using them? Or let's just talk about other people too, besides you. Okay. Talk to me about the snook guys. Talk to me about the redfish guys. Are these guys trying to chase these things down? Because I know there's guys up north, and I don't want to say what type of fish, but everyone likes some of your jigs, right? So that I don't care if it's walleye, smallmouth, but the snook guys and the redfish guys, that's what I want to hear about. What do you guys have? Do you have that market of guys that are coming to get all these multicolored and diverse colored bucktails?
Down here in Texas and Galveston, I have a few guys. Matter of fact, it's shrimp jigs. I'm not even gonna lie. The shrimp bucktails that I'm making, they are all over. There's another guy down here that makes something similar.
That's the manic mullet, your shrimp one.
Yeah, the manic mullet, the shrimp one. They love those for redfish up in the marshes. They go up in the marshes and they catch those reds all day with them, and even it's speckled trout as well. They love those. Those are like my big ticket item down here. That one, like I've made, I don't know how many of those. Is a lot, and I make those eyes myself too. So like I just make that out of.
Hey, let's talk about that. So that's something that would be easy to explain to people. I can at least explain what I know about it, and you can kind of add on whatever you think. But before we do that, get your fish on saying, have you ever thought about the shrimp jig and put on a little scan from Fish Bites or something on them? Yeah, I could see that. I mean, the Fish Bite stuff is killer across the board, not just the strips. They got those paddle tails or what is it? Like the big bully, or what do they call their swim, like their grub style?
Oh, they got, something fight, right?
Like Fight Club is
Fight Club. Yeah, Fight Club. I think
Fight Club.
What they call it. Yeah, I've seen it in Walmart. Yeah, they got that fight. I've never used it, but I love their bloodworm stuff, man, and their clam.
I bet you that would work pretty good on the back of that shrimp or any of that brand. And guys, listen, I told you I'm not sponsored by these guys, right? Fish Bites and stuff, but I've talked to the Fish Bites guy before. They sent me some things for up here, and I don't know. Some other people may not. Well, I really don't care. I'm going to tell you something about Fish Bites. So if you're a tube fisherman, if anyone's paid attention or seen me around or heard me talk and be on other chats, and if you cut off a little piece of Fish Bites and put it in the back of your tube, if you're a Great Lakes fisherman, hold on. You don't want to do it, don't do it. You think it's cheating? Fine. I'm not fishing tournaments. Don't care. But I'm going to tell you something. Shrimp Bites, shrimp flavor, that's the one. That's the one I use, but it's fantastic stuff. And you have a couple bags for yourself that you can bring on vacation with you when you head down to, if you're just a freshwater guy, you can use it in the salt. It catches everything. They come in long little strips. It looks like a strip of rolled up bubble gum, right? And it's basically a mesh compressed. Yeah, like I don't know what to say. Like it kills fish. And you guys, I made the comment earlier. You guys saw me when I was down in Florida last summer. I was cutting little pieces off and putting on the back of my freestyle jig when I was swimming the Berkeley Gulf swimming mullets, and I put strips of little piece of fish bites on the back too.
It has like a mesh lining inside of it too that helps it stay on. That's
yeah,
good.
It does. And like get your fish on. He's saying they're amazing. You could go up to the anywhere up the coast. The Pompano fishermen love fish bites. Everyone loves fish bites. When I was on the East Coast in like Folly Beach outside of Charleston, and we were surf fishing, we were running double dropper rigs, and I had fish bites on. I caught shark, bluefish, whiting, everything. So the point is, they make stuff for freshwater too. And if you talk to the fish bites people, they'll tell you that like they would like to get more into the freshwater world, but most of their world is focused on some catfish sense. But let's be honest, guys, shrimp catches a lot of things. Shrimp, crayfish, these things aren't too different, right? So just think of it that way. Let's see. What does Trippy say here? He says, how well does that Sally Hansen's hold up in salt cuda? Hold on. Let me go grab something. It's on the other side of the room. I want to show you something. Let me grab it. I think it's over here. If I can find it. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. All right. It's not there. I thought I was going to show you something. So last year, there was one jig that I purposely fished probably about 6 nights in a row. Freestyle jig, a 1/4 ounce. And I was putting 4-aught Gamakatsu 604s in it, and then putting 4-inch swimming mullets, and I'm casting the Berkeley gulps, and I'm swimming them at night, bouncing them off the docks, stuff like that. And I caught so many mangroves on it, and I caught so many snook. I caught a baby tarpon on it. I was banging it off docks. I'd pull it out every single night because it was like, how many nights can I use this jig? And then I lost the eye off of it and a little bit of chipped on it. And I coated the whole head with Sally Hansen's. Like we were talking about the head coverings earlier, but I coated the whole head because it was a white singular color. I'll put a post up of it sometime, but does it work? Yeah, it works. I don't bake the head sometimes. So does it work? Yeah, of course it does. It's Sally Hansen's. It works on everything.
Yeah, I sent Eric some in his care package because I don't use it. So I threw it in the box to be funny.
Look at your fish on. Just don't eat the bubble gum from the fish bites, isn't it? If you were a kid, you'd look at it, you would think it was like a roll of gum that comes in those little rollers. Yeah, that's really what it looks like.
I remember when it first came out, it was actually in like a small square package, not that rectangular one. It was a small square package when they first came out. And man, like back in Virginia, they got they fish for spots.
Yeah,
spot, and they use those the fish bites, the bloodworms one. And man, sometimes it outperforms like the actual bloodworm.
It's crazy. I mean, you just have to be willing to try different things and see. Chris McCloskey, what's up, buddy? You just got to be willing to try different things. And like, look at me talking about putting pieces of fish bites in the back end of tubes. When the fish bites guys heard that I was doing that, they got a guy that works for them that's using that technique in Florida. And he's like, the guy was talking to one of the owners. He's like, you gotta tell this. So he starts telling the other guy, and they're talking to me, and they wound up sending me some stuff to test for him and play around with, just because they knew I was a northern guy. And guys, listen, you want to be good to people in this industry, just talk to them. Have conversations, be genuine. And people will try and share things with you and help you out a little bit, right? It's just there's so many different ways to try different things and experiment with different things, and just product wise, I mean, there's so much out there, right? And if you guys don't like what I talk about or what I use, fine, find something that you do, right? And there's so many different things that work, right? And I think that's the important thing. And I know everyone likes Larry because of his real sexy heads that he makes here, but I like his thread wraps more.
Yeah, and like I don't know if you can see, but man, I would show you my little paint collection I got. I don't know if you can see from here.
Yeah, I'll make you big. We should be able to potentially see a little bit here. Hold on. Can I make you full screen? I think I can.
Right here.
All right, you're big. You got the full screen now, Lair.
All right. I'll just slide this out.
The sexy head, right? Isn't that great? I knew that was going to happen. Oh, look at this. Oh, God, somebody screenshot that.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, I love it.
Like I individually do every fluid bed.
What do you have plastic taps on that, or did you put metal?
No, that's the aluminum ones.
Yeah, those are nice. Yeah. You know what? It's funny you said that, Larry, because what I wound up doing, I actually one of these, you know what? One of these shows I'm going to bring it out. But what I did is I wound up making bases that had male end threads, and then I wound up making paint cups with female ends, and I did that so I can screw them on and off over a basic head. But I like the fact that you made them just like that. You don't have to overcomplicate your fluid bed systems, folks. You know, you can make them simple. I did make a few fancy ones with brass, some of the brass fittings. A complete and total waste of time.
Yeah, it's a waste
of money. And if you want to have multiple systems, the most efficient way that you can create a fluid bed is one, if you're buying pre-made ones, or two, if you're making your own. And you see Larry's, it's a 2-part system. You know, do you have a cap on the bottom, Larry, or how do you got it sealed on the bottom?
That's how mine is. Yeah, it's got that cap on the bottom.
Yeah, real simple, highly effective.
I'm making some right now. So yeah, just a coupler with a
2-inch coupler cap. Is that a cap on the bottom that you're using, Larry?
Yeah, that's a cap that I put on there. 2-inch cap.
And so anyone who's curious about how to make a simple fluid bed, right? 2-inch coupler, 3-inch piece. Is that a 3-inch piece of 2-inch diameter PVC?
Yeah. 3.5. I went 3.5.
3.5, a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. And so basically you can make real simple. You could get a 50 pack of the little fittings that you would drill in with online, and it's just there's easier ways to do it. And if you ever have questions and you see guys like Larry, just ask questions. You know, guys will help you. Funny enough, I moved away from using my fluid beds, and I just use the cans now, and I leave the famous Jigsquad technique is I leave a toothpick inside of the containers, and then I literally, in between every dip, because I'm not mass producing or making as many, between every dip, I literally just stir the powder and I leave it in there. When I close it up, the toothpick's still in there, and I'm always ready to go. And I don't have, I feel like I have so much experience with it. I don't have to worry about, having problems with my paint. And the other thing is I'm not painting multi-colors, but if you're going to do multiple colors, you certainly should be using fluid bed over the dipping technique. So, but it is nice. I like the little shop picks. It's kind of nice. And Larry's live right now, so it's even better.
Yeah. Just like that, 60 different paints in there. I don't know.
It's fantastic, buddy.
Yeah. And I store them inside because like here in Houston, it's so like humid. So I can't store them in the garage. It'll start to mess with the powder. I've noticed anyways. So
Matt, two things. I know your question can mean two things. So what does that do? All right. So I'll talk about the toothpick. So basically, because the microns of the powder is so small, right, that powder will compress. And so you'll hear some people that will tell you that you should take the paint can and shake it. And that only does part of it. It gets some of the compression from its sitting, from settling, takes some of that away. But the reality is it's like it's forcing it on one side of the can or the other. So the reality is it's counterintuitive. You think that you're loosening up, but you're really not to the extent that you should. So by stirring the toothpick in there, it agitates all the powder and fluffs it up, so to speak, right? And so that's what you want. You want your powder fluffy and a little more aerated. And it's the same concept as to why when you use a fluid bed, it aerates the paint, spreads out the microns of the paint. And so when you dip, you're getting a thinner coat. So when you use a fluid bed, you're always going to get a thinner coat because you've spread out the diameter of which the paint is in. But my technique for using a toothpick is to say that that's my way of aerating my paint. And you literally can feel the difference when you first start to go stir it. You feel it's a little more. It's not hard, right, to do, but it's a little tougher to move through it. And then as you move it, it just feels like you're moving through air. And that's how you want it. You want it as fluffy as possible. Gives you the most even paint distribution. And listen, guys, another thing, if you're new to making jigs and you're painting your jigs and you're dipping them in cans, because most of you probably don't have a fluid bed if you're new at it. When you dip your paint, if it's smoking or if it gets all clotted up, you just got to change your count. The way I was taught to do it is you count. You hold it over your heat gun or heat source for a number of seconds. And then when you go and do it, if it's all caked up, you know something didn't right. Lower your heat, lower your count, right? Lower how much time you're putting under heat. One of the biggest problems is to why people get clumpy or gobbed up looking painted heads is because they put it on the heat, the jig, the lead on the heat for too long.
And constantly, turn it, like
you constantly have to turn it and change angles.
Heat right.
You can't just hold it in one source or even turn it. I actually even tilt it to get the top part. And but anyway, it's just simple little techniques that can kind of help. And if you ever get started in this, you're doing it and you have questions, ask somebody and they're going to help you out. Larry's talking about, what we've talked about earlier is about advanced painting, but to be honest with you, you just got to get the most simple of painting techniques down first to be happy and proud of the jigs that you make, right?
Yeah.
And don't worry about fancy, right? You don't have to get fancy. If you want fancy and you don't want to learn how to do it, you could buy jigs from Larry. You could do that too. So I actually, Larry, I'll be honest with you, I don't have the patience, I don't think, to learn the technique at this stage in my jig making. And plus, like Jig Squad's become, so much more of a time thing for me too. I don't think that when I have time to make jigs, I don't have the time to learn to master and conquer a whole nother technique. And that's why I'm so appreciative of the stuff you do. For anyone in chat, you guys see On the Fly periodically, and you'll see Brian post periodically, and he'll say, he's like, you have to appreciate other jig makers and possibly, like if they make things that you don't make and you want it, you buy them from them. And it's funny because like Eric asked me one night about different jigs. I'm like, I don't buy jigs from other jig makers. Well, now there's a few people that I potentially would buy jigs from, right? Because they make something different than I make. Larry makes bucktail jigs that I can't possibly recreate, right? I could make decent bucktails, but I can't make things super cool like this, like Larry's. John's Jigs, he's another guy. He makes some crazy, he used some crazy fly tying techniques on some of his jigs that are just phenomenal. And so you just got to appreciate the designs that other people put out, And Larry, you're experimenting with some of the freshwater stuff. So talk to me more about that a little bit more, because I think I cut you off a little more or earlier when we were starting to talk about that.
Yeah, it's all good. No, like just being part of Jig Squad and seeing everything you post, it just like I'm like looking at the stuff and I'm like, man, that stuff looks cool, because I'm never really freshwater all that much, when I was a kid. Yeah, of course, that's mainly what I did. But just being like seeing the stuff that you post and seeing the creativity behind it, it made me want to, to take on it as well, to see what I could bring to the freshwater world too. And hey, man, like, what does they say? Like only 3% of the country is on salt, like, with saltwater, so in the rest are in the middle. So, and a lot of guys that I work with, they're all freshwater fishermen, and believe it or not, and and they're like, hey man, why don't you ever make any, some bass jigs for me? I'm like, I can eventually, like I just want to pump. I'm known for my salt stuff. You know what I mean? Like, that's another thing that like we talked about before is like you can't be scared to try something new. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree.
And I mean, and I felt like like I had the paint skills enough to emulate some of the stuff that freshwater fishermen use. You know what I mean? I just got to get good with the skirts. I'm not even gonna lie to you. The first couple I made, the skirts were horrible, man. Because I actually thread wrapped those too.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't got any wire or anything to do the silicone. So
it's crazy because it is different.
Yeah, I couldn't spread it right at first. You know what I mean? I was like, why is my hair or my silicone more on this side than this side? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm like using my thumb and I'm pushing down, trying to get it to go all the way around. And I finally got it. And I got it after watching a video that we posted, that you posted a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? I'm sorry, I'm bad with names.
Small Jaw?
No, it wasn't Small Jaw.
I'm not sure.
He had made his own like skirt system.
Oh, John DeMay from Dem Jigs.
Yeah. Like when I saw him doing his, and I was like, that's what I'm saying. I'm learning from, the freshwater guys and stuff like that. So
yeah, there's a lot of good ones. Like Clint just messaged SDG, SDG Custom Lorecraft. Like Adam makes some really.
I watch his videos on YouTube.
He's got some great tutorials too, and I mean, I don't know. So listen, Bruce has got a question here. He says, "Do most jig makers use a foot pedal for heat guns while heating up jig heads? I used one for safety seals, shrink wraps." So Bruce, we are. Well, I don't want to speak for Larry, but I mean, I'm literally using a heat gun that looks about as close to a hair dryer as you can get. Right. $30 heat gun from the hardware store, and then we flip it up and stand it up. There's usually like a support bracket that comes on them where you can vertically stand it up, and we're literally using a pair of pliers or hemos, and we're holding it over the top of that heat source for a little bit, rotating it till it's heated, and then dipping it. And so no foot pedal, but that's kind of that. So here's another one. South Jersey says, take a look, Larry, if you could see that. Fluke teasers and striper teasers.
I haven't really got into like the teaser part. Usually I just make like a smaller jig for a teaser, actually like an 1/8 ounce or something like that. Like I have, matter of fact, there's a guy that I don't know if it was you, but somebody from Jersey had asked me if I do any tying on like treble hooks and stuff for teasers with stripers. No, I haven't yet.
The striper scene, it's so weird because some of them truly like those teasers above ahead of I call it above a head, whatever you want to say. They're bucktails, but it's just weird because there's times where they say it and I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then other times I'll tell you, well, I'm just going to say it. So there are guys, I'm not going to say what river systems, but there are guys on river systems that will tie teasers above bucktails for walleye too. So this is It's not just a freshwater thing. It's an all over the place thing, right? So a lot of different people, So yeah, I mean, look at Jim's saying right here. He goes, "I use an alcohol burner, simple and works great." Yeah, it's great, Jim, because sometimes I think to myself, I want to get an alcohol burner and use that. So like a lot of times when I would be powder painting, I would be powder painting down in the family room and somebody's watching TV. And I'm like, that's why I like to do it. I'm like, I got to get another location to do this. So this is why I'm working on my place in the basement. But that would be a time when I would like to use the alcohol burner instead of like the heat gun, which is a great source.
Off one of these.
Yeah, just the classic little.
Before I went to Harbor Freight and bought me a heat gun. So I started with one of these. Now I just use this to clean eyes out and stuff.
Yeah. Guys, so many good things. All right. So listen, you saw a few stickers tonight. You all heard about a couple of techniques for getting started with some of the the painting elements for the Larry Hadley style. And I kind of enjoyed the talk about bucktails and shrimp jigs and how we can incorporate some of these things into our different designs. But I mean, Larry, here's the thing, buddy. I really appreciate having you on, and I'm hopeful. Hopefully you'll be willing to come on again, maybe later in end of the summer or even as we go into the fall. I'd love to get you on again, my man. I love talking with you, and I think we can get more into some different techniques and stuff like that, and see what else you're on. But I mean, if you want to, let me put it up again. Kind of talked a little bit here. If you guys want to find Larry, his link to his Instagram is down below in the description as well. And they can connect with you on Instagram or on Facebook. You do sell your jigs. By the way, I just want to show this one more time. That's a poison tail head, bucktail with a swing tail with a big old wide gap on there. Guys, you sell these, Larry?
Yes.
Okay. You see that, guys? That's delish right there. But anyway, if you're looking to catch up with Larry or see any of his stuff, I never seem to remember all these things when I do this show. I always say, I guess apparently this like stuff's supposed to be an important feature. I don't know. Guys, what I do want, I want you guys to share Jigsquad with other people. Tell them about it. Subscribe. If you're watching the show and you're not subscribed, please do. It just helps the channel grow and just gets us to a spot where there's more exposure for what we're trying to do and create a community. Maybe it'll encourage me to make more stickers. Guys, I'm making stickers no matter what. They're coming. So, Larry, I appreciate it. Any parting words before we get out of here, my man?
Hey, look, I'm just telling you, if you're a beginner, man, you got to start somewhere, right? So don't let anybody tell you that your stuff looks bad or anything like that.
Good point.
You will grow in time. Like I was talking about earlier, like when I was talking to my friend Marvin, he was like, you came a long way from Harbor Freight, and a long way with using like on the bucktail here, and I was using like all the parts of the bucktail. So you're only supposed to use really the middle, like for a regular traditional bucktail, unless you want the flare. So you want to use the top or whatever.
Right.
And I would use it all, and it would just look like that, and I used to get, ridiculed, or not really ridiculed, but joked for it. Like, oh man, what's wrong with your thing, man? It looked like it got shocked by lightning or something.
Right.
But just keep at it. You know what I mean? Like, because you'll grow, eventually, and then being a part of Jigsquad, I'm pretty sure everybody would give you a tip or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, guys. There's a new thing too, Larry. Those are fantastic words, and it's so true. So one of the things here's one more thing too. I don't know why, for whatever it is. Apparently, when you get 500 followers, they open up a thing on YouTube. They give a community tab where you can make a post. Meaning me, I can make a post. And so, guys, keep in mind, we're following this every other week format. So there's no show next week. The week after that, we'll have a show, right? So I'll start posting about that. I'll post on the community tab so you guys know about it, and I'll also post on Instagram. So. But more than anything else, guys, I want you to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. That way you get notified when the shows are coming. So that's the number one way of knowing. You don't agree with me on some things? Great. Hit dislike. Sounds great. Don't care. I love you all. I appreciate you being a part of Jigsquad. Stickers are coming. Larry Hadley is the best thread wrapper in the whole game, I think. And he does some cool paints. Larry, I appreciate you tonight. Hang out in our little hangout here, even when I end the stream. But that's it, guys. This is Jigsquad. I appreciate you. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Catch us on Instagram. Catch us on the replay. Do whatever you need to do. Protect. Get what you need. I can't wait to see your creations. If you post and you make stuff, tag me, tag Larry, whatever you need to do. Guys, that's it. Have a good night. I appreciate you a ton.